President Obama and Mitt Romney tonight face off in the first of three presidential debates in Denver, Colorado. The overlying focus, domestic policy. That's what they're supposed to focus on tonight. But within that, what key issues need to be addressed and who wins on each? Let's talk to our political panel. Mallory Factor is a professor of international politics and American government at the Citadel and the author of the new book, Shadow Bosses. Meanwhile, Judith Miller is a Fox News contributor. You know her. She's here all the time. And Zerlina Maxwell is a Democratic strategist. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
All right, Zerlina, let's start with you. What's your number one topic that they need to address tonight?
The topic on everyone's minds all the time, which is the economy and jobs. And I think, both candidates need to lay out a clear vision for the future. With Mitt Romney, he needs to lay out specifics because he hasn't done that all along. And I think he needs to tell the American people face to face, for the first time to the biggest audience, what he's going to do specifically to create jobs and improve the economy and get it back on track.
Well, Mitt Romney says he's going to create 12 million jobs if elected president. Our president, who's had 4 years, is still, I think, at a net deficit for jobs.
That's not actually true. A recent report last week released showed that he has a net gain in jobs, and he's created over 800,000 jobs.
Right, exactly. But maybe the president as well needs to explain how he's going to create 1 million jobs.
Yes, I think he has already done that by introducing the American Jobs Act. We need to get that passed.
Okay. Judith?
I think he's got to make clear what his specifics are. We know a lot about goals for Governor Romney, but we don't know how he's going to get there. For example, we don't know how he's going to increase the military by 4% and still maintain deficit control and spending. As for Obama, he's got to answer questions about what happened in Libya. We've had all kinds of explanations now about what happened, what caused it, and the administration has been forced to backtrack each and every time. Some direct answers, please, from both gentlemen.
Plus that crazy sequester thing that apparently was part of his idea and has gotten us to the precipice of perhaps hundreds of thousands of layoffs. Mallory, what do you think?
I think that Mitt Romney has to make in very clear and stark terms the difference between himself and Obama, that if you go for Obama, you are going for big government, you are going to be run by big government and the shadow bosses. And if you go for Mitt Romney, you're going to be voting for freedom and prosperity and less government, and government run by the American people.
And both campaigns have said, look, it's going to be really easy this time because it is a clear choice. I mean, really, people will have a choice, clear, which kind of America they want.
They have a choice between slogans at the moment. Remember hope and change? Well, many Americans feel that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, you've got a good point.
People really want to know what's behind these slogans.
Well, let's find out if they do that tonight. They're going to have 2 whole minutes to talk each time, so that's a lot of time to have some specifics. Meanwhile, straight ahead, with the panel, it's a gift-wrapped gaffe for Republicans. The vice president says the middle class has been buried for the past 4 years. So how does the president, his boss, explain Joe? And sex offenders suing for the right to hand out Halloween candy. They say it's freedom of speech. Really? We'll be right back.
We don't get fooled again.
How they can justify raising taxes in the middle class has been buried the last 4 years.
Middle class buried the last 4 years. That was Vice President Joe Biden yesterday in what some say is a gigantic gaffe, admitting the last 4 years have not been good for the middle class. Meanwhile, the Romney camp seized on that, saying, we certainly don't want 4 more years of that stuff.
Voters is very simple. We can't afford 4 more years of Barack Obama. We can barely afford 4 more months. If we have 4 more years of Barack Obama, we can't wait 4 years for our economy to start growing. We can't wait 4 years for people to find jobs. We can't wait 4 years for our houses to be worth what we paid for them. We can't wait 4 years for our kids to be able to find jobs when they graduate college. We can't wait for 4 more years. We can't afford it.
But you won't hear that on the evening news, probably, what the media aren't telling you about the economy. We continue the conversation with our panel. A brand new Wall Street Journal poll comes out this morning. It says that 53% of the Americans feel that we are on the wrong track. And yet, you don't really hear that. You see some other mainstream media outlets talking about, hey, housing's coming back and everything. Happy days are here again. Mallory, there's a lot of stuff in the mainstream media we simply don't hear about the economy. Because it's not helpful to the president.
No question about it. The lamestream media is not telling the truth about this Enron-style kick the can down the road that the president's doing. I mean, he is actually telling contractors, he's telling government sectors to not tell people about the layoffs that's going to come with
the Warren Act.
Right, with the sequestrations. It is really going to be a horrible second term. But he's doing everything to keep the power for himself and his shadow bosses.
Zerlina, do you feel that way, that mainstream media doesn't report much on stuff that is harmful to the president's reputation?
Well, I mean, I watch a lot of different things, and I wouldn't say that that's necessarily true. One thing that is true is that American people know that the economy is not as strong as it needs to be. And I think that people don't necessarily look at indicators like the gross domestic product to determine whether or not they feel that the economy is getting better. They look at their own pocketbooks and whether or not they're getting a job, whether or not they're still living paycheck to paycheck. And the bottom line here is that we need candidates that are putting forth proposals and policies that will improve the lives of ordinary Americans. And I just don't think that Mitt Romney has put forth anything that's going to do that.
Judith, you go back to when George W. Bush was president of the United States, and when gas was, what, $3 a gallon, something like that? It was in gigantic letters on the headline at your old paper, the New York Times, and elsewhere, where they were just hammering him over it. And now we've got a president where the gas has doubled. I think it was $1.85 when he took office. Now it's close to $4.
Well, I think that we have seen, Steve, an amazing propensity of the media to kind of put a very positive spin on some pretty not so impressive economic news. You know, if you
Why is that?
Well, because maybe I think a number of us have been stunned by the extent to which this time, at least headline writers seem to lean towards Democrats. If you have a headline about slow growth, you would expect to see that in the headline, but instead you see a headline in the Times or the Journal about a stock surge instead.
Sure.
And AEI
green shoots.
Exactly. They did a study, and AEI did a study that showed that 15% of the headlines were tended to be more positive given grim economic news and the when you're talking about Democrats. So
the problem is the word's just not getting out.
Steve,
real quick.
they're cheerleading. They're not investigating. They're not reporting. This media has decided who they want to see the next president to be, and it's a re-election of Obama.
Okay. Mallory Factor, Judith Miller, Zerlina Maxwell, we thank you all. Great debate today. All right. 28 minutes now after the top of the hour. We're getting back in the way back.